of the minutes. Gordon Self.
The minutes are presented. I would say, take the liberty, the signature line shows the president, and it should be the speaker. I'll make that change. But other than that, the minutes are as presented.
Are there any questions on the minutes? Any discussion? Is there a motion? Senator Masterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would approve the minutes with the adjustment from the reviser on the signature line.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Second item of business is consideration and possible extension of the correspondence and mailing allotment deadline for legislators. The chair recognizes Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before you, in your packet is LCC Policy 38, dealing with correspondence and mailings. At the request of the Speaker, we have made some amendments to that. It's just a very small amendment, actually. Prior to today's action, if there is any action, newsletters must go out before or on or before sine die every year that there is an election within that particular chamber. And so this coming year is an election for all the House members. And what the request was to amend that, take out until on or before sine die, and it will be May 31 of every year, of every election year. And then it'll still be December 14th in a non-election year. And the other amendment that is on the LCC policy on the back page is just the date of today's meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And so this came about just because every election year we have to do this, and started having some folks say, why are we doing this every election year? Why don't we just change the policy to make it work right? And so this is that work being done to make our policy correct and not to have to come back every election year and redo this or make an exception to this policy. So is there a motion? Majority Leader Croft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we adjust policy 38 to say, and strike the words, the day the regular session of the legislature adjourns, sine die, and change and add May 31st. So it would read now by any legislator after May 31st in a calendar year.
Is there a second? Seconded by Representative Brandon Woodard. Is there discussion? President Masterson.
I'm assuming it also includes the language added on the second page of amend January 2026.
Yeah, that was just a date.
Yeah.
That was just a
Yeah,
date.
change the policy date amendment.
Yes, it does. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item 3 is consideration of recommendation of LCC Subcommittee on Administration regarding the Legislative Chief Information Officer. Just as some background information, the Subcommittee on Administration was tasked with narrowing down the applicants for the CETO, and then we had a series of interviews, first interviews, and then second interviews. And so that's been the procedure for it. With that, I would like to ask the members if you have a recommendation to deliver to the LCC. President Masterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After reviewing all the applications and the remote interviews and in-person interviews, my recommendation would be Altaf Uden.
Thank you, President Masterson. It's Altaf Uden. Senator Sykes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would second that recommendation.
And I concur with that recommendation. So with that, we need a motion to give instructions for the hiring of Altaf Uden. President Masterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I make the motion that the recommendation from the subcommittee be moved forward positively.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Sykes. Is there discussion? Senator Blasey.
Is Alta here?
I don't think so. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no? No. Oh, we've got, it passes. We've got 5. You have to have 5 to pass. Oh, hold on. No, we don't. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we've got 5. So there's 5, so it passes.
That was just a motion on the subcommittee's recommendation. So
Right.
it's just a vote of you 3. Now you place it in front of the full.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let's back up. We'll erase all of that. So we have to have a vote, a public vote for the subcommittee. So we've had the recommendations. All those in favor of recommending to the LCC Altaf Uden, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. So that is the subcommittee's recommendation. Now we go back to a motion to approve Altaf Uden by the LCC. Is there a motion? Senate President Masterson, sorry about that.
That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just renew the prior motion that we just erased, that the recommendation of Altaf Uden be advanced. Thank you.
So you've heard the motion, we have discussion. Senator Sykes?
I would second that motion.
And we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? More discussion, Senator Blasey?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I oppose the original, I guess I'll do it again. I think if you're going to get hired to a very important job in this building, you should show up to at least present to the full council. Because I think the question I would have for him is, I want to ask him, does he believe he's the guy for the job to update our website? It's very archaic. Our email system is not compatible with ks.gov, which we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for no reason, because it's not compatible. So I'm going to ask, are you the guy to help fix this, or gal, situation that we're in? And then KLIS has been an absolute disaster. We know that. Bills aren't being drafted because the system doesn't work for our needs. And so is this the guy to lead us into this challenging time with our IT system, or are we going to have the same old problem? So that's why I'll be voting no.
So let me share with you a little bit of information from our interviews, and I think that will help you out. That was actually a big part of the discussion when we met with the candidates. And this gentleman has extensive project management experience, has seen projects, big projects, go from start to finish. He even shared, we asked, what he would do different. And he one of the things, I really loved his answer. One of the things he said is, number one, he said, coming in now and knowing where you're at, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to the customers, the people who use it, find out what is wrong and where it's went wrong. But he said, I'm also going to go back to the original RFP, because he said, my experience is when things go bad, RFPs weren't done as completely as what they needed to do. And the vendor, when it's not in an RFP, they can always go back and say, well, that's not in there. Now we've got more work to do, and it just piles on. He had some really, really good answers to that. So even though he's not here, I can assure you our questions were very specific, having to do with our particular situation here in the legislature. Senate President Masterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would suggest, I think that's actually a fair assessment, thinking that the subcommittee is the only one that had the direct interaction. It might be appropriate, regardless of how the vote turns out right now, to have Mr. Uden come in and stand before the LCC in its entirety and let my majority leader and your pro tem address him directly.
Senator Sykes.
I also understand your hesitation. I went through all of the resumes. My husband does this for his career, and so I've always been a little skeptical of people who work for the government and IT. But he really did rise to the top, ask really hard questions about KLS system, Joint Committee on IT, really an understanding of this. And I do think with cybersecurity and big projects, he will be what we need. But, and I would say, I hope you can reach out and have a conversation. But I did feel very comfortable with him and strongly recommended him.
Representative Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I want to echo the sentiments of Senator Blasey with his comments, but one of the things, and maybe this is a policy change, maybe it's something different, but just being able to see the information of the individual's resume or know more about them before we get to this meeting, because this is a big decision for our institution. And so I'm wanting to make sure that I trust that you guys did your jobs really well, but I would still like to see what was reviewed, what was asked, all the conversations that occurred. So at this point, just not having the information, I'm going to have to stick with my no, but it's not because of anything that the subcommittee did. I just think that we might need to look at how we do our processes in the future so that we can disseminate that information for the full committee. Thank you.
I would say that is the reason why all of the resumes were sent to all the members. So everybody got those. They had a chance to look at those. And although you can't tell everything about a person just by a resume, it's also the reason why we have a subcommittee on administration, is so you can handle those things, get it narrowed down, and bring it to the LCC. So, but I hear you. Any further, Tom Day?
Mr. Speaker, if you don't mind, I would like to make one comment about Mr. Althoff Uden not being here. He was not asked to be present at this meeting because it was a recommendation from the subcommittee to the full LCC to accept the recommendation. I don't believe at this point the LCC subcommittee has made an offer. Yep. But it was the recommendation of the subcommittee to the LCC.
That is correct. He has not had an offer. He has to get the vote of the LCC. And also, quite frankly, his name's out there now, so anybody that's watching knows his name. But he was also concerned about, when does this become public? And he did not want his name to become public if he was not going to be the selectee, the person who was hired. So the other thing we have to do, not only do we have to, and it really needs to be a part of this motion when this motion is remade, is to authorize the chair along with Tom Day to work on the offer and to use the CETOs across our state system as a guide, that we would not go over what any other CETO is making, but to negotiate that particular pay range for that person and to make the offer. So that's also what needs to be included in this motion. Other discussion? With that, let's vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. You and I. So we have 5 ayes. All opposed, no? No. And we have 2 noes. The motion passes. Okay. So the next item of business is the update on the KLS modernization project. Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The update on the KLS modernization project, the background, you've got the memo in front of you, or in the packet. I shouldn't say in front of you. In the packet, the background is just what we have done since the October 13th meeting of the LCC. The the Modernization Steering Committee has been talking to other states. We have been talking to Propylon a little bit. We have been talking to states that were with Propylon, not with Propylon, and also checking out how we could possibly, if we could possibly go out on our own to develop our own system. We've issued 2 stop work orders. One of them was the end of October last year, and the second one started on December 1 and ended on December 31. While these work orders were in place, the steering committees explored those several options that the LCC has requested of us, and we are continuing to explore those, and that is ongoing. While these work stoppages have been in place, legislative IT staff have completed several requested improvements to the existing KLIS system, and the revisor of statutes staff has been actively testing those enhancements in time for the start of the 2026 legislative session. With that, Mr. Speaker, I would stand for any questions or comments.
Questions on KLIS? Seeing none, we will move on to the next order of business, which is an update on the ks.gov contract for constituent relationship management software services. Tom Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you may recall, we signed a 2-year agreement with ks.gov in December of 2024. The first year of that agreement was for 150 licenses, and we didn't come close to even using those 150. And the LCC subcommittee asked me to try to renegotiate that for the second year, knowing that we could not get out of the contract, but to renegotiate a price. ks.gov had expressed to me in 2024 that the possibility, if we weren't getting to that level yet, that they would be willing to talk about that. And so we talked about it. They have dropped the second year of the contract back down to the first year level at 150 licenses, with the option, if we need more than that, we can buy them on a one-on-one basis. So if we needed to add 1, we needed to add 10, we can do so at a specific price to add to the additional 150 licenses. So with that, Mr. Speaker, this is just informational purposes. We did agree to that, and have the Senate President did sign that before the end of the year. Any
Discussion, Senator Blasey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a question. I don't know if this is for, I assume, Tom. Is this a 3-year contract or a 2-year contract? So I have here in front of me, apparently a contract with them. That's ks.gov. And here it's listed as 3 years. So I guess maybe I have an old version or something, but aren't all state contracts, aren't there supposed to be a clause in a state contract that says all contracts are subject to appropriation by the legislature? So if the legislature does not appropriate money for said contract, it's null and void.
For FY 2026, the legislature did appropriate money, and it is in the legislature's budget.
So if we had not
which is
done
the
that,
current year.
So if we had not done that, you're saying that this contract would be null and void?
We had an out clause, that's correct. But with the appropriation of that, it's the revisor's office has reviewed every piece of that subscription agreement, and the decision was that we could not get out of it, but the best avenue was to try to reduce the price. No, sir. We will be paying $288,000 because the setup fee is not included. The $35,000 or whatever it is not included in that second year.
Senator Sykes.
Thank you. Can you tell how many licenses are being used out of that 150?
I have not talked to ks.gov in the last 3 weeks, I believe. I think it's been 3 weeks now. We know of 8, but there are numerous others that are in the pipeline, including many of the Democrat caucus, as well as some more of the Republican caucus. But I do not know what that number is and if they are all set up yet.
Okay, my follow-up question, because I have had conversations with them, but then I know other offices that started using them, it was not user-friendly, it was not a well use of tax dollar money, and they have stopped using it. So I do have concerns with this. I've had concerns. I like the concept of constituent relationship management software, but I think all of us as legislators pay that out of our campaign. I know I have done that out of my own campaign funds. I don't think this is a good use of funds, and I think we are getting taken to the woodshed.
Representative Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So just a few comments on the overall topic. As far as license usage, I'm not entirely sure how many people actually know that this is even out there at this point. At least it seems to me like there's a number in the House that didn't even realize that this contract was in place. And so I think that there's some more education efforts that need to occur if we're wanting to boost the amount of licenses that are being used by members. Another thing as far as usability, so my office is using ks.gov, but one thing that I will say is ks.gov out of the box, absolutely agree. Very non-user friendly, but what I don't know if they don't advertise it very well or what, but you can ask them to make changes to your office's settings and how the whole thing flows and how the information comes in and how it all works and functions. And so with my office, we coordinated with them and we said, here is exactly how we want this to work. And it is working very well for us because we took the time, we set it up. And if there's a way that we can make it to where their standard out of the box is not their standard out of the box, and maybe we have some people customize what it is that makes it more user friendly for our members, then I think that that would be a path that we could potentially choose. But I would agree that if we're going to have very few members actually use this thing, then we need to reevaluate this overall contract and system once it comes to its conclusion here at the end of this calendar year. But I do think that at the end of the day, we need to do what we can for our members because most members, their email boxes are just filled with complete spam, and our constituents are getting lost in that. And so if it's ks.gov, okay, fine, we'll figure out a way to work forward. But if it's not, then I still think that we have a responsibility as leaders in order to make our members the most efficient and effective that they can be with their constituent work. So I just wanted to make those comments, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the time.
Senator Sykes.
Just to follow up on that, and I agree. I know when I was doing it, I used my own email. That is the one I use, and I was not even a constituent of myself. So the system is only as good as the data, and I don't think the data is very good.
Further discussion. Representative Woodard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to echo a little bit of that. Our office was actually really excited to test this out. And in fact, I was on appropriations when we had to actually fight to get appropriations to get to, I think was like 12 to 11 or something very close to get this in the budget. So we were really excited to use the tool, but our office worked through multiple troubleshooting efforts with them. I think the biggest concerns for us was one, that it's there's no quarantine. So we all get those emails that go out to all 165 legislators. That's not quarantined. It's not sorted out. You can mark them as frequent flyers, but unless you've physically done that, they're not going into basically a spam folder. The calendar issue is one of the biggest things we encountered. You have to set up a separate second email address so that your calendar invites get there. If you say yes through ks.gov to a constituent, they send you a calendar invite that's lost in the abyss, which is really not functional while we're in the legislature. So that ghost email, which we kind of, even as an office, struggled to do it. And I think we all felt like a little crazy because there were meetings that were happening I wasn't showing up to. It's also not mobile friendly. So if you're looking at it on your cell phone, unless you have a phone big enough and you move to a landscape view, you can't see who the email is from. And as well as Senator Sykes mentioned, unless you were matching the email that was already preloaded in for that constituent, I use the one that is the most frequent email I use, my personal email. It's on the internet. get a million, spam emails and promotional emails because I use it for everything. And even though my first name, last name, address, city, state, and zip did not match, I was still not listed as a constituent. And they said that there was nothing they can do unless it matches the email function that was there. So we tried everything that we could. We were very excited to make it work. Just the functionality is just not, it's not ready for the Kansas legislature just yet.
Further discussion? Tom, I have one question or a couple questions on when is the end date of our contract?
The new end date of of the second year will be December 17th.
December 17th. And do we have to give a certain length of notice that we will not be renewing or renewing?
I was just checking back with the revisor's office. The answer is yes.
60 days, 90 days? Do you have
I
any?
believe it was 60. Oh, it's 90 days.
days.
90 days. So
We need
somewhere in
to,
October.
we need to take this up probably in September.
Yep.
So my recommendation is that we revisit ks.gov in September to allow us enough time to take any action that we need to take. So let's be sure and put that in the minutes that we will revisit this in September, at the September LCC meeting. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll move on to the last item of business: consideration and possible approval of employment of a consultant pursuant to KSA 46-1204 for the higher education budget. So we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity. One of the presidents of a university has retired. He has intimate insight into the higher ed budget arena. And certainly, as everybody knows, we have to be very careful and prudent with the dollars in our budget. I've said many times publicly, we really need to cut $200 million from our budget. And having an opportunity to have a person like that does have intimate knowledge of the higher ed budget, I thought it was prudent for us to hire that person for session, actually for 5 months, as a consultant to help our folks in the budgeting process for higher ed and find efficiencies, find any waste that we can find, and hopefully make that a very worthwhile project. So that is what this item is about, and I'm going to move to Senate President Masterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I concur and we're in an interesting climate. We're in a season of all the stimulus money that happened through COVID, through all the program, PPP, is all dried up. It's all gone. So we have to manage our budget back down to something that is normal. We're also in a climate where some of the tax cuts that we were able to get through are being implemented. So I think it'd be wise to bring on the consultant in that area. I'm going to go ahead and make the motion, and then we can have further discussion. Pursuant to KSA 46-1204, I move that the LCC employ or contract a consultant to provide professional services related to higher education budgets. The LCC chairperson would be authorized to review, sign any associated agreement or contract.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Majority Leader Croft. Discussion. Senator Sykes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I find it interesting with all the talk we have about finding efficiency in government. And I think we keep growing government, honestly, and to pay $10,000 a month on something that I think we already have staff through the research department, and we have a full-time division of budget. The first that I saw of this was when it was on the agenda item last night. I have not talked about this with the person. I don't know if they're qualified. I feel like this is a sole source. There's no RFP. This is not how we should be being transparent. And I would like a breakdown from on how the LCC's budget has specifically with contracted services has been increased in the years from fiscal year 22 to 27 and the percentage increase over time. I did not vote on our budget this year because I got it 5 minutes before. And if we are asking our other representatives and senators to dig into the budget and we just keep adding additional expenses, I mean, we can see as we're looking at ks.gov, I don't think this was a good use of our resources, and I'm afraid without more information that I think this is absolutely the same issue we're dealing with here. So I will not be supporting it.
Thank you, Senator Sykes. Representative Woodard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I guess I have a couple of questions, and I'll direct them wherever. It says higher ed budget. So I was on higher education budget for 6 years, 5 years of that as ranking member, helped train up 3 different chairs. So I guess my specific questions, is this university budgets? Is this community colleges? Is it tech colleges? Higher ed budget also sees the Board of Healing Arts, BSRB, Historical Society, and State Library. Is this for every single one of those that come through? Is this for specific entities within the higher education system?
It's the higher education budget, not all of those that don't pertain to higher ed.
So the universities, community colleges,
Universities,
and
community,
tech.
all of that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is just one of those things. If it's who I'm gathering through context clues, through this process in the 6 years I was there, before that as a university employee, before that living through 9 consecutive cuts as a student, then student leader, then university employee, and then endowment professional. I've watched especially our 3 research institutions go through self-imposed base budget cuts year after year. And so I've watched each of the different universities, all 6 of them in their own ways, do their part to make higher education affordable. I think that we've had a lot of talk in the last couple of years about Emporia State when they've really been doing what the other 5 had done 5-6 years ahead of them. And so I think that we all can, I assume, agree that we do have to look for efficiencies, make sure we're not duplicating services, but there's a way to do that that isn't just completely eliminating positions that are actually leading to good paying jobs in Kansas. And so I would say that my hesitation on this is just not knowing the qualifications or expertise, not knowing specifically who this person is, and knowing that each of the institutions, I guess I'm just hesitant as to what this consultant can accomplish that our budget analysts and the folks in the legislative research department probably couldn't help us find. So I just have a little pause with this.
Representative Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So over the interim, my staff and I ended up finding what I would call about $100 million in questionable spending that we've submitted over to the Appropriations Committee and the Oversight Committee. And it's been looked at by senators and representatives. And I really appreciate Representative Waymaster for digging into it. But that's the reason why I'm going to be supporting this motion today, is because if we were able to find $100 million in things like, I'm just going to give a few examples, like $75,000 in travel reimbursements to a vanilla bean manufacturing tour guide in Africa. Okay, why? Or another one, $96,000 to a nutritionist guru specializing in vegan cookbooks. Or $111,000 to a social justice headhunting firm specializing in placing executives into leadership positions in nonprofits. So I think that if we're able to find about $100 million just on our own over the interim with my staff and I looking through these line items, then I think it makes a lot of sense for us to hire an executive that has run one of these universities, they know how they operate, and they can give specific details as to where and how we can be more efficient with these higher education systems. And I think the $100 million at this point is scratching the surface, and we need to continue to dig and continue to ask those questions. So that is why I will be supporting this motion.
Further discussion? Senator Sykes.
No further. I just want to clarify and make sure that Shirley made note that I would like a breakdown of the LCC's budget and specifically how those contractual services have increased from fiscal year 22 through 27 and the percentage of increase over time.
Further discussion? Seeing none. You've heard the motion and the second discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. So we have 5 yeses and 2 nos. The motion passes. And that is the end of the program for today, so we are adjourned. Thank you. Program.